and moves were made. Hands were shook, money exchanged hands, possibly drugs. But it was all good. It was all in the name of fantasy football.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dynasty. Like I said, we all see things differently.
Put it on his shirt. I
Yes,
just
they do.
drank what tasted like a root beer, but now I'm feeling kind of tipsy.
Judges?
Yes.
Judges?
Yes.
So,
We're good like that.
ride that unicorn, my friend.
I was really going to do an awful Mexican accent, but I realized how bad I'd be at someone else for doing that. So, hi.
We all are very intrigued and very interested in what will happen this year.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is the Dynasty Podcast. I am Peter Livingston. I'm joined today by our commissioner and my best friend in the entire world,
You're such a kiss ass.
Elliot. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Dynasty Podcast where 12 friends start the year as tight as can be, and come playoff time, there might be some hatred towards one another.
The problem we're seeing, Pete, is that we go year over year, and it doesn't start anew. So these rivalries are building in the off season as well.
Oh, very much. Very much so.
Yeah.
Of course, I am alluding to I played a part in eliminating Elliot, our commissioner, from the playoffs by beating him in the second to last week.
You beat me twice last year, I think by a combined 5 points or something.
It was
a bunch of BS, and I'm out for revenge this season.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah. So that is definitely, though, my owner hat. I'll put on the commish hat and whatever, treat you fairly. I guess that's what you deserve. But then when it comes to gameplay, it's on.
Without a doubt. So we are actually doing this. We're doing this through Skype. So I don't have my typical microphone, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see how it is. Definitely give us feedback on the audio. If it's not up to snuff, I'll do everything that I can to make sure that I improve in that area, because we do have other people that are out of state, and we'll be doing some more shenanigans with them as well. So hopefully this all comes out pretty good. But Elliot, thank you for joining me on this Wednesday night.
Of course.
Elliot is working really hard as a number cruncher for a European beer conglomerate.
Say you are. You're keeping those digs going there. That's not going to help you anything, sir.
Lagunitas. They're a great Belgian company.
I'm taking my talents to Amsterdam. That's what I'm come on the pod tonight to announce. I'm moving the operations, and we're going to Holland.
All right. You're going to help build up NFL Europe. I love it.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of stuff we're going to go through. First, before we jump into things, I got to give a shout out to Scott and Pat for surviving their first year in college. I don't know if you remember your first year of college or not, Elliot, but
It was a while ago. Yeah, fun times.
They're both alive. Scott barely, but shout outs to everybody out there in the great state of Michigan for finishing strong.
Fun fact: Michigan's second highest listenership for this podcast.
I have some really random. The listener base for this is extremely random.
Really, I was just guessing on that.
I know, but I was actually looking at the metrics, and it's just like, wow, there's people popping in from all over the place. It's pretty interesting. We're starting to cover the 50 states gradually.
That's a little scary there, Pete. But we got to give the people what they want. So.
Oh boy. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into this right away. We got a couple of things we're going to be covering. So first, one of the things we're going to be covering is we're going to be doing our mock draft 1.2, or excuse me, 1.1, because 1.0 I failed to account for something that's actually pretty significant, and that was the fact that Pat had traded away his first-round draft pick. So he does not have a first-round or a second-round draft pick. And that actually changes the way that I think the draft would end up falling in that first round. So we're going to be going through our first-round mocks. And then we also have, coming this Monday, we are going to be voting as a Dynasty League on some possible new rules that we may or may not want to be implementing in this upcoming season. And Elliot's going to help take us through that as well. And then if we have some more time, we're going to be getting through some news and notes and some other things in regards to running back situations around the NFL. So, Elliot, you ready?
You ready? Let's do this.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and start us off with our upcoming voting?
Yeah, so I like to try to be as diplomatic as possible, give people a chance to explain what they like about the league and not. Like, Pete, what would you change if you could change anything about the league?
The one thing for me would be to add, and we talked about this before, would be to add half-point PPR to running backs, just to help raise the floor a little bit with some of the talent. And that's about it.
Okay. Well, you should bring that up. You should bring that up in our Slack in our league, because that hasn't even been brought up in this week of discussion.
Well,
I
don't know if Yahoo, because that's what we use. We use Yahoo. I don't know if they can get that customized by doing it by position. But if you could look into it, they change it every year.
I get what you're saying. You only want the running backs to have the half PPR,
right?
Yeah.
Just because there's so many weird situations with guys in the NFL.
Yeah, so I'm on the scoring settings page right now, and it doesn't look like I can, unfortunately. Okay. I see what you're saying. And so you'd rather not do it if it's receivers and running backs?
Yeah, because then I think it when you throw that in there, I think it kind of...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a terribly interested in any PPR, but I would definitely listen if that's what the league wanted. And so what I was going to try to do is give enough time, like it was a bit over a week, for the league to kind of discuss different changes, different things they want to see. And then the idea is I'll put them all into a list, and we'll do an official vote on Monday. And we'll need 9 of the 12 members to say yes. It looks like we may be stonewalled by a couple naysayers. Joe, Keyser, historically, Marcos have said no to things, just on the purpose of saying no, but I'm hoping that they can understand that if they want something, that it's they can vote yes. It's not that big of a deal.
They're gerrymandering our fantasy football league.
But as it stands, there's only going to be like 2 things to add to this list, and so I was thinking I can go over them here on the pod. People can listen and maybe get a bit extra clarification over the weekend before we put this officially to a vote. The first one's really straightforward. I've been wanting this a couple of years, and a number of people have been interested. It narrowly lost last year in a vote, and that's to add return yards to the scoring system. And so this would be running backs or receiver. Getting some return yards, I think, for me is the best, where I'm seeing my player out in the field, be it Ted Ginn or whomever, and if they are, we get points for return touchdowns. And so why not also for yards? I think it's pretty natural for our league. Hopefully that passes this season. Any comments on that, Pete?
I was one of the people that was definitely for that last year. I'd probably still be for that again. And one of the main reasons for that is, again, it has to do with trying to raise the floor a little bit with a lot of the talent, especially when you start getting into those wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, spot flex guys, and we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's a way to add some value when you're trying to find somebody last minute. You know what I mean? That
totally, yeah.
It
for strategy, you have to think twice about someone. If they're returning punts all game and can get 100, 200 yards of punt and kick return. I guess that's a lot, but that's, what is it? So if you did 120 yards of return, that's only 3 fantasy points. And so it's significant, but not also a game changer. It's just more to consider. And like I said, it's just, for me, it's purely the enjoyment of the game. If my player's out there doing something, I want to receive credit for it. Right. I don't like seeing, wasted stuff. So the second rule is definitely more interesting, I think, from the league's point of view. And that's kind of putting an emphasis and a cause to the consolation playoff bracket. So we had a bunch of talks about how we would, do a type of round robin format for all the teams that don't make the playoffs. And what it turns out is I actually don't have much control in Yahoo. There's going to be a consolation bracket no matter what I do.
Right.
There have been in past years, and they're always going to involve teams 5 through 8. So as long as our playoffs are teams 1 through 4, then 5 through 8 will make the consolation bracket, while teams 9 through 12 then don't get to participate in anything. And so kind of like listening to everyone in Slack and putting some ideas together, I've come up with kind of like an A and a B to vote on. So everyone would vote for, no to any of them or yes to one of these, where basically the prize is to get a penalty-free keeper the following season. And so the idea is that if it couldn't be used on a first through a fourth rounder, but if you won this prize, then say you had a player, I think like Jay Ajayi was like a 9th rounder last year, you would be able to keep him again this year for that. And so my choices A and B that I've kind of come up with is one's a little bit simpler, where we do this consolation bracket, teams 5 through 8, and the winner of that bracket wins the prize of the penalty-free keeper. So it's kind of really straightforward. It means that during the playoffs, we're focused on a couple more games for the consolation bracket, and then there's a clear winner at the end. Or a bit more involved would be a type of lottery system. And so what I came up with was you'd have the winner of the consolation bracket get like 6 ping pong balls or 6 lottery tickets. Second place get 5, third place get 4, last place in the consolation get 2. With that lottery system, then you would have the consolation bracket winner be in the best case to win this prize, and then going all the way down to including the 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs at all. And so what this would be is a reason for teams to still try during the consolation, but also not, be missing out on too much if they decided to clean their roster out for potential keepers. And so I think that might be a fun way to get everyone involved at the end of the season. Then later in the off season, we could hold the lottery, preferably on the podcast for everyone to hear, and one team could get the prize of that penalty-free keeper. So I think that's kind of fun, and that's actually probably what I would vote for. What do you think, Pete?
I think that any way that you can add, just fun, really, to be honest with you, like a lottery, it just, it adds something. One, competing for the lottery balls adds an element of fun for those that are, quote,
yeah, totally. I think it's just the hardest to get the best prize that's not like too powerful or too meaningless.
Right. And I also think that the idea of doing a lottery is a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like making somewhat of a production out of it. I just think it can add a lot of fun to the league. Kind of spice things up a little bit. And it may not be for everybody. And that may be something that maybe it needs a tweak or two. I don't know. We'll have to see what everybody thinks. But I think I voted for this last year, too. I thought that it could be a really fun wrinkle to add to the dynasty in leagues going forward. Because it's about having fun, and I don't think that it would necessarily tip the scales in any way, shape, or form toward with any team that did win the lottery. You'd like to think,
right? Because the penalty-free keeper is definitely good, but it's not going to it'd still be a keeper for the team next season, so it's not going to change anything in that regard. It really changes it the years going forward.
Right. I guess another question is, and we spoke about this at length a little bit towards the end of the season last year, and I think that this is something that fantasy owners, people that run their leagues run into probably every year. and it's when somebody decides to completely dump their roster. I don't know if you gave any more thought as to preventative ways, or are you hoping that this might be that preventative way? Or
So yeah, I definitely thought about it, and I think that this is going to be just something in the back of everyone's mind that won't really affect decisions. I don't think teams will roster their at full strength and not give any thought to keeper just to try to win the consolation bracket. I don't think it's a strong enough prize,
right? And
that's good. So I guess this is as good a time as any. So those are probably the only two things so far that I have that we're going to put to a vote, because not really much else has been discussed. But I do have a couple other things that I'm just going to make an executive decision on that we talked about at the end of last year, and I don't feel are vote worthy, so to say. So without further ado, it's all revolving around trades, trade deadlines, and playoff teams and out of contention teams. So this coming season, we're going to officially remove the 2-day waiting period on trades. So trades will process immediately upon acceptance. I think that was a consensus amongst the league last year, and there was really no reason to have a 2-day waiting period because of the way that I commission this league. I don't believe in vetoes by owners. I believe in appealing to myself, and then I'd take the issue up if there was a possible collusion. And then officially put in writing that trades are only allowed Tuesday through Saturday. So no trades on Sunday or Monday. And this kind of puts in writing what we had some chaos last year where Matt Keyser and Scott agreed to a trade in, I think it was the middle of the day on Sunday. And then I vetoed it because I had to appeal to a past ruling I'd made where, if teams were possibly going to be eliminated from the playoffs, then blah, 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 they couldn't trade. That caused a bit of a hubbub, and so I want to be a bit clearer this time. So no trades Sunday or Monday, and so basically if you want to do any trades, you're going to have to wake up Tuesday and do them. And if that means that you have been eliminated from the playoffs, then you can't make that trade, because that rule remains. Once a team has been eliminated, you can no longer trade with teams that are still in contention. And then the last bit to add to this is kind of what we dealt with Timmy and Matt Hughes and other teams where they were out of the playoffs and then they dropped all of their players, and playoff teams then immediately picked them up. And so the way I'm deciding to do this is that as soon as we wake up on a Tuesday and the playoff field is set, whether that's the last week of the regular season or even earlier if the playoff teams are set earlier, then the players on the non-playoff teams may not be acquired by playoff teams by any means, waiver wire, free agency, or anything. And so that'll take a little bit of monitoring on my part, but I'm happy to do it. So that means if you, Pete, you don't make the playoffs and I don't make the playoffs, and we're both in the consolation round bracket, say I decide to go for it and I want the consolation prize, but you don't. So you dump all your best players to pick up keepers. I can go and pick up your players because I'm not in the playoffs. That's totally fine. But those 4 teams who are in the playoffs, they may not pick up either of our players.
Well, I think a more realistic situation would be I don't want to win, but just to be petty, I'll beat you and then dump my players.
Yeah.
I think that would be more. No.
Well, yeah. No. I would totally want to beat your butt, and so I think that all's fair in love and war in the consolation round. If you want to go pick up every player that Marcos or Brienne or Pat or whomever else dumped, let's go for it. It's trying to just keep the 4 playoff teams to be a bit more pure. They built their rosters throughout the whole season. They made trades earlier in the season if they needed to get where they wanted to be, but they can't go and reap the benefits of full roster dumps. Because if you're an out-of-contention team, until you're officially eliminated, you should be trading all of your players anyway.
Right. So let me play devil's advocate here. So let's say I'm a playoff team or maybe I finish second or even win the dynasty, and I see that the person that wins the consolation bracket gets a free keeper for the next season. Outside of winning, would the champion or second place person have any right to claim for a similar prize? Because I think some people might look at that and say, "Oh, what? They won the consolation. Why should they get to keep a keeper for free?" And meanwhile, I won the league, and I, get this nice T-shirt.
I don't really see a problem with it too much. I mean, I guess people will find a way to complain about anything.
Not in our league.
No, not in our league at all. I mean, yeah, they're all saints, but no. I mean, I get your point, but winning is the greatest prize of it all. To be as corny as it is, like that's what we're all playing for.
I'm with you on that.
It's kind of the idea with like last place gets the first draft order selection. It's a bit of the way of evening it out.
Right.
And so I think that the keeper, the penalty free keeper, is a prize to someone who maybe didn't make the playoffs but still competed the whole way. We don't like a bunch of quitters. This isn't the quitting league. This is the dynasty. You play to win. And so if you can stay true and win through the consolation, I kind of think that it's nice to have a reward there. Or the lottery ticket where you have the best chance at winning if you win the consolation.
Well, I like it, and I also like what you're your executive order that you'll be coming out with the playoff teams, and yeah, we'll take a little bit of work on your part to monitor players as they leave rosters. But I also think it's kind of fun, the fact that those players, they'll still be able to get fought. Teams that are in the consolation brackets will still be fighting for these scraps. What I mean? So I think it does make it more fun. I think that's a good idea. But again, the consolation bracket is only for 4 teams, correct?
Yeah, teams 5 through 8.
Got you. So I wouldn't have been in last year because I finished 11th.
Right, but you would have gotten the 1 lottery ticket. So
there you go.
Yeah, well, so that's basically all the rules that I've got here. I think, we're in is this the 5th season now? So we a lot of things have been ironed out, and so we're really just fine tuning at this point. I like it a lot.
Very much so. Well, I like it. Good stuff.
Cool.
Those are some of the rules that we are looking at for this upcoming season. Voting will be on Monday. We will let you guys know how the voting turns out for next week's episode. And let's go ahead. You want to jump into a mock real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, like I was saying last week, Tim and I went through. We did a first round mock draft. But there was one glaring mistake that I missed, and I had it in my tab. It was open and everything. It was right in front of my face, but I did not account for the fact that Pat does not have a first-round draft pick. And so before we get into this mock, I wanted to clarify one thing, and that is when this trade happened between Pat and Tahir, what was what was attached to that first rounder? Was it you have to choose the highest placement possible in the draft, or
no, there was nothing attached to this. Yeah, Pat can go wherever he wants.
Wow.
I have my memory and my records that don't have anything attached to this trade. It was done in the moment where Tahir upgraded from a 3rd to a 1st. And in exchange, got back, gave up 2 solid players, AJ Green and Melvin Gordon. And so, it was pretty fair in the moment, I felt. And yeah, Pat can choose whatever he wants.
Okay. Well,
what's interesting is that Pat doesn't have a 2nd-round pick either. And so it comes back around that, like, if Pat wants to, where he's going to select, the best third round pick will be by virtue of picking the best in the first round.
Right.
And so that's extra special for Tahir.
Right. And Pat does have three third round picks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself, we'll get into it. let's go ahead. How about you? Let's have you start since you are my guest. I will let you go ahead.
Well, thank you. I don't remember. I listened to the pod last week. I don't memorize what you and Tim laid out. I'm probably going to be quite similar. You just want to do draft order selection first, or with the players?
We'll do draft order selection first, and then we'll go through players.
Okay. So I think Marcos takes number 1 at overall. You'll take number 2 overall, which sends it to Robin. Robin will then take number 3. Tahir follows in line, taking number 4. Similar to last week, I have myself jumping to 12. And I could definitely see myself changing, but you'll see kind of with my mock where I think players are going to fall.
Okay.
I'm happy with 12-13.
Okay.
With the way my roster's at. Then I've got Brienne and what's up? Sorry, what's up? Oh no, then I have Scott taking 5th. Pat. Oh, sorry. Let me back up a step. After I take 12, then I have Keyser taking 11, and that's because he's going to keep Melvin Gordon in the first.
Okay.
And then I have Scott taking number 5 overall. Then Pat taking number 6 overall by virtue of getting the best third rounder. So that 6th overall pick then goes to Tahir. And then Brienne at 7, Tim at 8, Hughes at 9, Joe at 10, finishing it out.
Very nice.
So the way it looks with the picks traded, we'll go Marcos, Robin, Tahir, Scott, Tahir, Brienne, Tim, Hughes, Joe, Keyser, and myself.
So, what place did you finish in last year?
I was in, 7th? I was in 8th.
You were in 8th.
I was in 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. Wow. All right.
And so it's 2 assumptions. There's 2 assumptions that Melvin's kept, and I'm also making an assumption that Mike Evans is kept. That'll come up in my mock. So he's keepable in the 2nd round by Scott. And so I think that that's a pretty good value. I think he'll probably keep him there.
Right. I'm kind of with you on that, too. He had an amazing year last year, and I definitely think you don't want to be throwing him back. I mean, it's hard to think that there would be...
Well, right. Case in point, I started doing a little mock if Evans was not kept, and I had him going in the 1st round.
Oh, without a doubt.
So there you go. Scott should keep him in the 2nd.
All right. Well, go ahead and run through your 12 one last time, and then I'll go ahead and give you mine. All
right. So I've got Marcos picking number 1, Robin picking number 2 by virtue of you, Pete.
Right.
Robin picking number 3, Tahir picking 4, Scott picking 5, Tahir picking 6 by virtue of Pat, Brienne picking 7, followed by Tim, Hughes, Joe, Keyser, and myself.
The one thing that I'm kind of toying with my mock in terms of placement is Pat trying to go maybe later, because in the 3rd round, he has my 3rd round pick, which would be the 2nd overall pick in the 3rd round. And so you would think, since he doesn't have a 1st or 2nd, he would want to take a pick as high in the 3rd as possible. Or, excuse me, as high in the 1st as possible, so that would translate to the 3rd. But maybe he wants to try and get closer to the 3-4? Or do you think he wants to try and go more top-heavy in the 3rd and get picking as soon as possible?
Oh, I think you pick as early as you can in the 3rd, without a doubt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's too much. There's still too much good talent early in the 3rd.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Let's jump into picks, Shall
Okay.
we?
We shall.
Let's go ahead. Let's go through our first round for the dynasty.
So what do you think it'll take for Marcos to not draft Zeke number 1 overall?
Oh man, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, could he trade him for something? But I just don't know if there is anything that anybody can offer him.
Who says no? Marcos trades number 1 overall and like a 6th rounder to Tahir for the 4th and 6th overall.
I mean,
Who says no?
I could maybe argue no, just because it's Zeke. I mean, you're looking at a possible 300-point running back, and when you're looking at 4 and 6, you're looking at maybe like a Shady McCoy or maybe like a AJ Green. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know. That's so hard. It's
Well,
just,
I think that trade should be proposed between them, and we'll see who says no.
no, that's a really good point. I mean, there are some people that have. I mean, even Robin. Does Robin?
Yeah.
Does Robin
trade 3 overall and a 2nd rounder or something?
Or he could trade the number 2 and number 3 overall to Marcos.
Robin wouldn't do that.
No.
I don't think. No, Robin's got running back depth.
That's true.
I think he wanted the multiple players. Yeah, so who do you got Robin taking 2 and 3 overall?
I still have him, even though, and we'll get into this, I mean, even though there's reports out of camps, out in Washington and so forth about competition with Fat Rob, I still think he goes Antonio Brown and Julio at 2-3.
It's exactly what I've got as well. It's really, really hard to pass that up.
And I get it. Tim and I were talking Shady. Like, do you go get Shady? Who's arguably him or Murray? You're banking on 2 older running backs that are coming off of really solid years. Do you try and round that out a little bit? But like we were just saying, I think Robin is going to be banking on the fact that he has 4 potential starting running backs. Maybe they're not legit RB1s, but he still has 4 starting running backs in the NFL, and he's going to be looking to really round out that team. And when you round it out, I was telling Tim, when you have Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and then your 3 is, I'm blanking from Green Bay, Adams. I mean,
right.
That's a pretty disgustingly good
Absolutely
wide receiver core, and I just don't know how you can pass that up.
I completely agree. So then who do you have Tahir taking it for?
Well, I was going to ask you, who do you have Tahir going?
Here he takes Shady.
You think?
I do. So I'm pulling up his team right now from last year. And so Tahir is going to be able to keep, if he wants, Mike Wallace, Tyreek Hill, Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, a number of receivers, but doesn't really have that star running back. In fact, I don't even think he's Matt Jones there in Washington, but I don't think he has a job anymore. So there's really no running backs for Tahir to keep. And so for the ability here in the first round to get one of the top running backs, I think you can't pass that up.
I would agree with that. I mean, I was looking at Kenneth Dixon, who's probably going to be the guy out.
Right, after being suspended for a few games.
But I think that he will end up being the guy. The whole thing with, as we just found, with Wendell Smallwood, he all of a sudden doesn't look as appealing because the Eagles just signed LeGarrette Blount. Mm-hmm. So maybe he was banking on that a little bit. And so I have to agree with you that I think that he goes Shady here. I had him going with AJ Green, just going with probably one of the better receivers if he's healthy. But I agree with you. I think you have to go Shady here at 4.
Yep.
You want to go on down to number 5?
Sure. So then Scott, I have taking AJ Green.
Me too.
So Scott's got some really, really good running back keepers and a little light on wide receiver, but he could actually pair, AJ Green with the keeper of Mike Evans in the second, and that's pretty dynamite.
It really is. I mean, some people are going to say, like, is Mike Evans, is he going to be like the new, is it going to be like him and Odell Beckham, kind of like the new 1-2 punch that we've had with Antonio Brown and Julio going forward? So it makes a really compelling case for AJ Green there. The only thing that I can maybe see him going for is DeMarco Murray. Like, do you believe in DeMarco Murray again for this season?
Yeah.
Like, do you go that route? Because maybe you think, okay, I have Mike Evans, and the running back position is at a premium.
I'm going to give you a clue into my psyche here. I'm so out on DeMarco Murray, I forgot to even include him in my first round. So, I forgot he was still alive. So, no, I don't think he's taking DeMarco Murray.
Okay, fair enough.
But there's a pick later that probably Murray will go instead of who I had there. So.
Okay, fair enough. But, yeah. All right. Let's go down
so
to
then Tahir.
6
with Tahir. So here's where I think it gets fun, because Tahir will have Shady. He'll have some wide receiver keepers. He has Kelsey kept at tight end. So guess who I have with him going at number 6?
Gronk.
Exactly. He's too tight end Tahir for a reason.
I love it.
I think Kelsey, Gronk, Shady, it just makes too much sense.
Oh, I love that. I really do. So you think, I mean, I know that we like to kind of dig at Tahir for being the guy that firmly believes in the 2 tight end strategy. But do you think that Gronk is still first round talent?
I think it's all about situation. I think myself, I'm, as I see this first round playing out, I'm not drafting Gronk at 6 overall because not only withstanding I have Jordan Reed, but I think it's too much of a gamble. Like, he's the type of pick that's going to put you over the edge, but he's not going to create any type of solid foundation that you can rely on week after week.
Right. Got you.
It's like, if you know he's going to play and you can put him in your lineup, you'll probably win that week. But if that's your consistent pass catcher, then no, you're not going to be. He's going to miss too many weeks.
I think that is extremely interesting, and I have a big smile on my face. And so I have, I would have Murray going here because I have Keizer keeping Melvin Gordon, but I would probably think that DeMarco Murray would probably end up going here. You want to go to the 7 spot?
Sure. So there I've got Brienne, and looking at her team, there's really not too many keepers, and kind of thinking I may know what Brienne's thinking about. She wants to go solid. She wants to go safe. She wants to go big name. She doesn't want to bust in the first round. She may not, be flashy like Gronk, but I think Des Bryant.
Me too.
I think she knows who it is. He's reliable as anyone, and I think that's who she needs.
I have Des going there as well.
Yep.
All right, let's move on down to the number 8 spot.
Okay, so an 8 is Tim, and he has a pretty insane keeper selection already. He's got his running backs all tied up with David Johnson, Jordan Howard. He's got receivers in DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas. He has an undrafted Matt Ryan at quarterback. Doesn't really have a tight end, but I didn't see a tight end to reach for here. And so I went outside the box with a high upside play of Brandon Cooks, the New England wide receiver.
That's right.
I think, Tim, that's like Tahir with Gronk. It's the play that if Cooks hits in New England, then Tim slides him in, and he's going to dominate for a long time. If he fails out, then he still has the depth to make up for it.
I don't think Tim is sold on Cooks. I would have Tim taking T.Y. Hilton.
Okay, I could see that.
I do think that Cooks will go in the first round, though. I just, Tim and I were talking last episode, and I was trying to sell Cooks to Tim, and Tim was just like not having it. So I don't know if he'll take him, and I think that he likes the big playability from Ty. I think that he'll go with Ty Hilton.
All right, fair enough.
Let's go down to
so number 9.
Number 9.
This is where it gets definitely hard. So I've got Hughes here. And Hughes doesn't have a ton for keepers, if I remember correctly. He does have Devontae Freeman, which will help out a lot. Let me scan over. He's got Tom Brady, Jarvis Landry kept, Devontae Freeman. Not really anything else. And so I was thinking he needed a running back. He could go DeMarco Murray here, but I actually see, this is kind of my prediction, I see a good camp out of this guy, and I see some buzz building back up, some post-hype sleeper, and I see Hughes taking Todd Gurley.
Ooh! Okay. I could see that. I have Hughes because Murray is off the board for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have Hughes taking Cook still. I had him taking Cooks in my last, and I think it's because of the fact that he has good value at running back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's going to go wide receiver. I think that he's going to go.
Okay.
But Gurley would make sense. I really do.
Yeah.
I do think that Gurley would make a lot of sense for Matt Hughes. But I think that, he has Tom Brady. I think that he's not Matty's not a really big risk taker.
Right.
And I think that he knows that Cooks is a good wide receiver. He's going into a good system. And I think he knows what that offense can do with Brady. And so I do think that he's going to take a piece of that with Brandon Cooks. So
Okay, sounds good.
let's go to 11. Are we at 11?
10.
10, excuse me.
So 10, I've got Joe, and this is where DeMarco Murray probably would go in my mock. I kind of had fun with this pick, though, because Joe, as I mapped out his roster, he's drafting a bench spot with this pick. He has his entire starting lineup already filled out. And so I tried to think of the largest ceiling of players that were left. And I think that this player, I'm going to leave it here in my mock, I think this player is even a larger ceiling, definitely a lower floor, but a larger ceiling than DeMarco Murray. Any guesses?
Oh, man. A larger ceiling than DeMarco Murray.
Yes.
Do you have
Fournette? I could see this player with 15 touchdowns.
Is it Fournette?
It's not Fournette.
Oh, do you have him? No.
Yeah, no, it is. You got it.
No, I don't because he's being kept.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Color me crazy, but I think that it's just that type of pick that Joe would just love to rub it in our faces when it turns out right.
Beast mode?
Yeah.
No!
You gotta, don't you see it?
No!
Like, you can see him failing out, but can't you see 15 touchdowns, 1,200 yards?
No, I can't.
Oh, yes. It's gonna happen. And we are all gonna face melt when he wins again. It's gonna be so bad, Pete. I'm scared. No, okay, to be honest, he's drafting DeMarco Murray here. But whatever, I'm leaving Marshawn in, officially.
You know what? Like, Marshawn, I think, is the player that everybody in the world just, like, wants to see just, like, flourish one last time. Like, people want...
totally.
He's built up, like, this amazing brand, like, just going out there and being himself. And I don't know if you saw it, but he had this crazy block party. He got back to Oakland.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the video. There's, like, a 2-minute video of him throwing a block party in Oakland. And it's, like, Draymond Green is there, like, all the Bay Area hip-hop heads, and it's, like, barbecue and stuff. It's, like, Draymond Green and just like all these Bay Area people just
It's so funny.
throwing a big block party. So I'll tell you what, if Beast Mode,
I wish I had the guts to draft him in the first round. Let me just put it that way.
I like it. I now I kind of hope that happens because I have Joe. I have him taking Todd Gurley. So.
Okay. See, I don't think that can happen. Joe is soured on Gurley. Gurley really shit the bed for him last year.
He did. No, he really did. He was horrible.
Joe's out on Gurley. He won't draft him. And then number 11, I've got Keyser keeping Melvin Gordon. It's just good value, along with Keyser being able to take the 14th overall in the second round. Who do you have at 11? Is it Keyser?
Yeah, I have him keeping Melvin Gordon. I know that he's been talking about shipping him, or he's not too keen on keeping him. I don't believe him. I think that before you had the fact that he was coming off of a not too great rookie year. You could even say that he wasn't the best running back down in San Diego, but now that isn't a problem anymore.
No, not at all.
I just don't see much in the way of competition for him, and I think he's going to get like 300 carries. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be a huge workload, and I just don't see Keyser shipping him off. I think that he's going to take the latest pick that he can get in the first round, and hold on to Melvin Gordon. The only other thing, though, is that in terms of picks, he doesn't have a second-round draft pick. So,
see, I missed that. I knew that at one point.
And when I originally did my first mock, I had him going more towards the middle of the round.
Yeah. Well, in that sense, yeah, he should go earlier, still keep Melvin, and then get a better third.
Right.
Because as long as you're committed to keeping Melvin, it doesn't matter where in the first you are.
Right.
But on that sense, too, it really doesn't matter for the rest of the league.
No.
Because if he picks higher and takes Melvin, then we're all just bumped down a spot. It's all the same.
Right. It doesn't change any of the other picks.
No.
But, yeah, I mean, unless... I mean, the other thing is that he could trade away Melvin Gordon. I talked with Tim about this. He could go later in the draft, trade Melvin Gordon to somebody that wants to keep him in the first round, and acquire a second round pick for the rights to.
Yeah. The problem is that the rights to Melvin Gordon isn't worth very much.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody would.
Because on the free market, where does he go in this draft?
Oh, my
does
God.
Does he go before Shady?
Yes.
No.
I think he will go before Shady.
Then there's your buyer. You need someone who wants to move up high enough to take him. Then I don't know how high I would go, but I don't think that the rights to Melvin is worth a second rounder at all.
Right. You never know. Maybe he gets a couple cocktails and Robin, and I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I was just saying. I mean, those are really the two options. Is maybe he does try and deal him for a second round draft pick. I mean, who knows? And then he does go later in that 11 spot, or he's in that 7 range. But yeah, like you were saying, it doesn't really affect the rest of the draft. Let's just say, like, if he were to have traded Melvin Gordon to somebody in the first round, and then Keyser were to be making a first round draft pick, and let's say he was making a pick at 11, like what do you think he would go with?
Oh man. He'd probably just go best player available. So if DeMarco was still there, if Gurley was still there, Lamar Miller, basically all the players that I'm about to list off for myself.
I agree with you on that.
So there, when I'm sitting at 12 and then 13, I really, like the idea of having back-to-back picks here, so I know exactly who I'm getting. I know exactly what combo of receiver, running back, whatever that I'm getting, and I don't even have that single pick in between that could possibly foil it up. So the way my mocks worked out here at 12 and 13, at running back, I have DeMarco Murray available, I have Lamar Miller available, Leonard Fournette available. At receiver is T.Y. Hilton I still have available, Amari Cooper, who's the next one? Demaryius Thomas is still available. I can go quarterback and look at Aaron Rodgers.
Wow,
or
your mock draft sounds a lot better when you have
Drew Brees.
When you have Gronk and Beast Mode going in the first round. Your picks.
That's true.
At 12
That's true.
14. No, but go ahead. But
no,
it's your mock.
you make a good you make a good point. Maybe that was a bit too liberal. Maybe I should hold back. But I'd say that I'm only making 2 picks, and so I just listed 6 or 7 players who I have my eye on already. And so even if a couple of them go earlier, then I think I'm still sitting pretty.
Yeah.
I'd say Gronk is probably the only one that I'm not considering, and I wouldn't consider Marshawn unless the news at a camp comes out that he is, particularly doing something special. Those 2 are the only guys that I have going above that I wouldn't consider.
So who do you have going 12?
So in this mock that I wrote, it's T.Y. Hilton. I'm going to go back to that well. So I've got I'm going to go into the season with 2 starting running backs, Jonathan Stewart and Spencer Ware. They're nothing too special, but they are starters. And so filling out a solid receiver is the first need for me.
And then what would you do with the wraparound? Do you what would you think?
It would.
With 13?
It'd be hard to pass up. I don't know. It's really interesting. I had Lamar Miller last year, and he kind of burnt me. So I don't know if I want to go back there. Amari Cooper's interesting, except that Crabtree performed so much better. Don't really know if I want to go to a quarterback. I don't know. I might try to go upside with a fun pick and Leonard Fournette.
That's where I see him going. I was talking with Tim. He's definitely one of those guys. He's got to either be at the end of the first or within the first 2 picks in the second. I don't see him going past that. I just think that's his spot. That 1-2 turn. I think he's gonna be right in there. I have him going 12 in my mock. I think that he'll be the last pick in the 12th round. I think that the potential, the ceiling for him, if he converts those goal line carries, I think it does. I think it pushes him ahead of Lamar Miller, presumably, ahead of those guys that have kind of been floundering the past few years. And I just think he's going to be, he'll be picked, in 12 or 13. That's stranger things have happened. Who knows? But I just think that.
Yeah.
That's where
I think that's where it is. Mm-hmm.
Well, good stuff, Al.
Yeah, that was fun.
Getting a little glimpse into your mind and what you're going to be thinking about the draft. We'll get into a more deeper draft strategy, I think, as we go along and get closer to the draft itself. But I like it. Well,
I like you too, Pete.
I guess the question is, does Pat try and find a way to get into the first 2 rounds?
I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Does he leverage any equity for next year into this year's draft, do you think?
I don't think he does it. I think he... Oh, man, I'm looking at his team. He doesn't have much of anything.
No. It would be...
No, I think he needs the 3 third-rounders to try to build a core.
Right.
That's what I think.
I respect the hustle, though, at the end of the year last year, though, Patty. I think that was amazing. I don't know. How you doing on time? You want to...
I should probably head out.
Okay.
I should probably head out, yeah. But I'll be on again soon. We'll next week we're gonna vote, and then we're gonna select the draft order, and then once that all's set out, I'll do another mock with you so we know exactly where people are picking, and hopefully we'll have some trades by then.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Elliot Paisley, he is a commissioner for the Dynasty Fantasy Podcast League. He has been doing a great job. Year 5, you'll get to know him a little bit better later on this year when we do our interviews, and I look forward to doing that. But thank you for coming in and doing the mock with us, talking over some of the rules that we're going to be voting on this Monday, and it should be a fun year.
Well, thank you for having me. Good, always good.
And I definitely look forward to continuing this little streak I got against you and Tim, because it's so sweet.
This is why we have divisions. We need these rivalries.
So sweet. So sweet.
Watch Tahir beat us all. He goes 6-0 in division.
If that happens, if I lose to Tim and then Tahir, I will be a very, very, very sad human being. But thank you so much for coming out. Anything you want to plug? Anything at all?
No, that's about it. Yeah, no, we're all good.
All right, my man. Thank you so
all
much.
Right. Have a good night, Pete. Okay.
Bye.
Good night.